Hey, hello champions, welcome to this session. And here now we are going to introduce a system failure, which means in the earlier there was an application failure, assuming that the application is hung and load balancer was smart enough to identify that. What if the system goes down? Let's see if our load balancer is smart enough to identify that as well. So quickly sharing my screen, and you can see all three load servers are healthy right now. What I'm going to do is, so quickly I'll show you that the system is working. So the load balancer is able to send requests to C. So sometimes it gets cached. Okay. So yeah, it's able to send to B and A, which means all three are working. Now let's simulate a system failure. So I'll go back to instances and let's go back to the instance state and let's stop instance. So I'll stop this. We can reboot as well, but sometimes, reboot, it comes up really quick. So I'll stop the instance. Let's assume the system is rebooted or stopped. So now this is a system failure. So if you see here, I lose the connection. You see the connection is lost. I was logged on box A. System A is stopped. Okay. So if I go back to the load balancer once again, let's see. So it's going back to C, B. Until now, the request has not gone to A. Sometimes, very rarely, it might go to A because let's see if it has identified. So it's not identified yet. So we are fortunate enough, the request is not going to A yet. Otherwise, you will see one or two failures for 6 to 9 seconds. But we are fortunate enough to not see any error. You see, it's sending only to B and C, B and C. That's the power of load balancer. So we never saw any error even once here. We are fortunate enough. Okay, here I would say sometimes you might see one or two errors because it takes one or two checks for the health check for the load balancer to target this as unhealthy. So you can see now it is unused. It is not unhealthy. Why? Because when the application is not reachable, then it is marked as unhealthy. Now the server is not reachable. So you can see it is unused. So if I scroll down, you can see it says server A is unused. They're not able to reach the server. So it's not unhealthy, it is unused because we have shut it down, which means forget about application. It's not able to reach the server itself. We simulated application failure a while back. Now we are simulating server failure. But do you see the application load balancer was smart enough to identify not only the application failure, but also the server failure. So that's the power of a load balancer. Okay. So that is what I wanted to show you in a quick demo. Now what we will do is let's quickly bring this back. So I'll start the instance. Now you see one of the problem here is the IP would get changed because you see we have started the server. It didn't have any elastic IP. So this IP of server A would get changed. Earlier it was 54.165.57242. Now if I bring it up, you see the IP would get changed. Now here is the power of load balancer. So you can see this, don't try this IP, it would never work because you see either if you reboot or when you stop the server, the IP would get changed unless you have an elastic IP associated with that. So right now I'll check this IP and you will see the server A is up. Let's see, you can see server A is up. And if I refresh my load balancer, so let's keep refreshing the load balancer here. Okay, so you see, I didn't have to change the IP. It automatically connected to server A. Why? Because it was related with the DNS. So now if I refresh this screen, again, it might take few little checks to get it, bring it into healthy state. So let's wait for a few seconds or let me refresh this screen. Yeah, so if you can see all these three servers are healthy, A, B, C, everyone, each one of these servers is healthy. But did you see that the load balancer was smart enough to identify that the IP has got changed? So it's still without me intervening into IP, the load balancer is smart enough to identify that, okay, the IP has changed. That's completely okay. And it's serving the request to A as well. Okay. So that is the power of load balancer. And I want you to try out both these cases. And in the next video, I'll show you how to delete the entire setup. So I'll see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye-bye.